Magandang hapon po. Hapon dito sa Pilipinas kasi ano ha? Well, tayo po ay nag-live ngayon kasi anytime ngayong hapon dito sa Pilipinas, anong oras na ba? Dito sa atin sa ano ay 5:23 na. So anytime po ay magkakaroon na ng opisyal na proclamation ang Kongreso at Senado. Para ho kay President, incoming President at maya-maya ay President Bongbong Marcos na at Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio. At bigyan ko lang kayo ng konting background, napupuno na po ang session hall ng ating Kongreso dahil nandun po yung maraming mga mambabatas sa Kongreso at Senado. Pamilyang Marcos, kanina more or less mga 40 minutes na o 30. Okay? Sakay ng chopper pa nang dumating din si Sara. Alam nyo, galing ito sa Visayas bago nakarating at nandyan po sa may batasan na ngayon. Hindi pa ho nag-uumpisa dahil ginagawa pa yung committee report after nung canvassing ng dalawang komite o ng Kongreso at ng Senado ay ginagawa yung report at pagkatapos pong magawa ang report na yan, sisimulan na po ang proclamation. Pero katulad ng sinabi ko, nandyan na po yung pamilya, si Bongbong Marcos, ang kanyang mga anak, nakita ko na yung kanyang mga anak, at saka si dating unang ginang Imelda Marcos ay nandudo na rin po. Ang buong pamilya, marami na rin hong mga senador, parang nandun yata lahat, ang mga senador at congressman para maging witness or saksi dito po sa proclamation na gagawin anytime. Kaya po nag-live tayo ngayon. Sana mabilis na magawa yung committee report kasi tapos na po yung canvassing eh. So ang ginagawa ay siyempre gagawin yung committee report bago officially na i-declare or magkaroon po ng proclamation. So napakabilis din ng count ng canvassing. Kahapon lang ito nagsimula eh. Okay? Officially kahapon nagsimula at ngayon inatapos din. Yung pong 173 na mga boxes na naglalaman ng Certificate of Candidacy, Certificate of Canvass, Certificate of Canvass, okay? At election return nga po na binasa mula ho sa iba't ibang lugar sa buong bansa. So, kaya maganda ito dahil kahapon nga po ay naghayag ang mga abogado ng mga oposisyon at nagsabing hindi na sila interesado na magkaroon ng oposisyon dito sa ginawang canvassing. At kanilang kinikilala na ang desisyon ng majority. Okay? Maging yung kampo ni Leni Robredo sa magitan ni Atty. Macalintal ay nagsalita ng ganon na nire-respeto na ng kampo ni Leni Robredo ang desisyon ng majority noong nakaraang eleksyon na si Bongbong Marcos at Sara Duterte ang magiging opisyal na Pangulo at Pangalawang Pangulo. At dahil dyan, yan na nga. Okay? Nagtuloy-tuloy na at napakabilis. Hanggang kagabi, tumigil sila kagabi, halos alas 11 na ng gabi. At ngayon naman po ay itinuloy kaninang alas 9 na umaga at ngayon po ay natapos na, kaya committee report na lang ang hinihintay. Pero nakita nyo, punong-puno talaga ng tao. Grabe. Ang session hall parang regular session na. Pero kaya ho napupunong ganyan dahil nga po sa, alam mo, ang tawag yan, nakikita ba? Yung dami ng tao. Ayan, no? Ay, hindi masyado makita, ano ha? Anyway, mamaya host yung proclamation yan. So kaya po ako nag-live ngayon para maiparating ko po sa inyo, sa ating mga followers dito po sa Mike Abe Opinions, okay? Sa buong mundo, hindi lang ho dito sa Pilipinas, na gusto kong ibalita at maganda itong balitang ito na inaasahan natin na sana 3 hanggang 4 na araw, mas napadali. Yun ang ating pagtaya ng 3 hanggang 4 na araw ay ating pagtaya lang. Hindi naman tayo yung membro ng Kongreso at Senado, pero mas maganda dahil nagawa sa loob lang ng 2 araw sa magitan po ng kampo ng Senado at Kongreso na kumakatawan diyan si Senador Mig Subiri as Majority Leader ng Senado at Martin Romualdez bilang Majority Leader ng House. So magkatuwang, siyempre, ni Speaker Velasco at ni Senate President Tito Soto. So yung pong buong membro ng Kongreso at Senado, ayan na.
We'll be starting in 5 minutes.
Please
settle down. Thank you.
Ayan o, in 5 minutes daw po ay magsisimula na para nga ho sa formal na proclamation. Okay? At tulad ng sinabi ko, maganda po yung coordination ng Congress at Senate. Kahit yung oposisyon sa Senado at Kongreso ay nakipag-coordinate. Kaya umabot na lang ng 2 days na dapat ay 3 hanggang 4 na araw yan. At saka isang kabutihan nito, yung ginawa ng taong bayan na bumoto sila at nagkaroon ng landslide na resulta. Pagka landslide, wala talagang gaanong oposisyon dyan. Dahil landslide nga so napakalaki ng hahabulin. Halos kulang-kulang na 17 million. Yun po yung kahalagahan at bakit napabilis ang canvassing dahil landslide. Mahirap po kasi kung close fight or dikit ang laban, definitely marami hong question, marami hong mabusisi ang bawat galaw dahil close fight nga. Dahil hindi naman nangyari yon, kaya po napakabilis. At ito yung panibagong kasaysayan ng naiukit ng ating mga kababayan dahil nga sa nag-participate sa eleksyon at higit sa lahat, nagiging smooth, nagiging maayos ang counting, ang canvassing, tapos proclamation. After proclamation na yan, ang susunod dyan ay yung meeting na, series na meeting na between outgoing government under Duterte administration at incoming government under Marcos Duterte administration. Yung transition, napakahalaga nun. Although mayroong ilang, kung di ako kakamali, 7 na or 8 na mga cabinet position ang naipagkaloob ni Mr. Marcos. Una dyan si Vice President Leonard Robredo, the DepEd Secretary, Benhur Abalos, si Abalos magiging DILG Secretary, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, Executive Secretary, at Benny Laguesma, DOL, Department of Labor Secretary, Toots Ople, Susan Ople, ang Secretary ng Department of Migrant Workers. Okay? Dr. Arsenio Balisacan, ang nagbabalik na Director General ng NEDA. Kung saan itong NEDA ay, anong tawag dito, yan po ay dating hawak niya ng panahon ng mga Aquino. Okay? At kanina lang, kung di ako nagkakamali, si Attorney Tracy Cruz Angeles, tama ba? Attorney Angeles ay tinalaga naman bilang press secretary or papalit kay Andanar, yung Presidential Communication Operation Office. Hindi ko alam kung mananatili yung PCOO or ibabalik din sa press secretary. Kasi nung araw po, yung PCOO niyan, press secretary ang tawag dyan eh. Naging PCOO lang naman dito, kung di ako kakamali, sa Duterte administration. Or sa pati yata doon sa Aquino administration, PCOO rin. Anyway, basta yun yung posisyon na yan, yan ang hahawakan ni Attorney Angeles. So, 8 na ang nabanggit ko. Hindi ko alam kung may bago, pero everyday nagkakaroon po ng series na consultation, meeting si Bongbong Marcos at kanyang team para sa pagpili ng gabinete. Kasi exclusive kay incoming President Bongbong Marcos ang pagpili ng pagdidesisyon kung sino ang kanyang magiging membro ng gabinete. Pero kaya umaga sa television ay kausap namin si Amy Marcos. Ayan na.
Joint committee meeting is resumed.
Okay, nadinig ba
On
ninyo?
the part of the House, the joint committee is resumed. On the part of the Senate, may I solicit the approval of our members, the joint committee report on the canvass of votes for the presidential and vice presidential candidates in the May 9, 2020 elections, and the accompanying resolution of both houses. Those who are in favor of the approval of the joint committee report and the adoption of the resolution of both houses, part of the Senate, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it, ladies and gentlemen. On the part of the Senate, the joint committee report is approved with the accompanying resolution of both houses is adopted.
Ayun. Committee report na yan. Well, sorry kanina ba nabanggit ko Vice President Robredo, Vice President, incoming Vice President Sara. Okay, sorry.
On the canvass of votes for the presidential and vice presidential candidates in the May 9, 2022 elections and the accompanying resolution of both houses. Those who are in favor of the approval of the joint committee report and the adoption of its accompanying resolution of both houses, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. On the part of the House, the Joint Committee report is approved and its accompanying resolution of both houses is accepted.
Yan, approve na po yung resolution, both houses yan. Senate and Kongreso mismo, yung
The
Kongreso.
House Secretary General and the Senate Secretary are directed to submit the Joint Committee report and the accompanying resolution of both houses to the joint public session immediately after the members of the Joint Committee have signed the report. Thank you very much, my dear co-chair. On the part of the Senate, before just an announcement, right after we adjourn this joint committee meeting, we will resume our joint session of Congress. So on the part of the Senate, the joint committee meeting is hereby adjourned. On the part of the House, the joint committee meeting is adjourned.
Okay, so ayan. Malinaw na yan, ha? At ang susunod niyan, joint session yan. Joint session, joint session nga po yan. At kakamaya yung dalawa. Talagang maganda yung accomplishment ng dalawa. Si Majority Leader Congressman Romualdez at Senate Majority Leader na si ano tawag dito, Subiri. So after po nung canvassing, yun po yung proseso. Ginawa yung committee report. So nadinig naman ninyo, nag-agree ang lahat ng member ng Kongresong nandoon. Nag-agree din ang mga senador doon sa committee report na nandun present sa session hall. So approve lahat ang magkabilang panig. Ayun, magkatabi siya, no? Ito nakita ba ninyo? Ayan, no? Magkatabi po si dating unang ginang Imelda Marcos at saka si Attorney Lisa Araneta Marcos. Ayan. Yung dating First Lady at incoming First Lady, yung magbianan, magkatabi sa upuan at nakikinig. Anytime po ay ayusin lang yan. Kaya punong-puno ang session hall ng ating Kongreso. Nandun ang majority ng mga congressman, majority rin ng mga senador, na malalapit dito, yung mga congressman, dumating talaga kahit malalayo para mag-attend nitong joint session na ito para kailang i-declare at magkaroon ng official proclamation. So wala pa yung proclamation, maya-maya po. Hindi yan pwedeng iproklama ng resolution lang. Yan ipoproklama ng buong Senado at Kongreso. Yan po ang proseso under 1987 Constitution. Kaya kung yung mapapansin ay punong-puno yung session hall ng ating Kongreso, pati gallery dahil maraming mga VIP, business community, mga kaibigan ng pamilya, mga nakasama sa kampanya, nandoon lahat. Kanina pa inuulit ko, kanina pa si Bongbong Marcos at Sara Duterte doon sa holding area, doon sa PLLO office, Presidential Legislative Liaison Office, PLLO. Doon po yung holding area. At mamaya tatawagan sila doon, susunduin sila ron para magpunta ng session hall para sa formal na proclamation. Okay? So inaayos lang po at nang mangyari na po itong ating pinakakaabangan at anong tawag dito? Makasaysayan. Inuulit ko, I'm sorry kasi kanina ba nabanggit ko Robredo? Di ba Sara? Anyway, kamali lang tayo. Incoming pa rin. Incoming President Bongbong Marcos Jr. at incoming Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio. Ngayon lang yan. Pero maya-maya, President-elect at Vice President-elect na yan. Okay? Sorry talagang mabilis yung ating mga taga-subaybay makapansin. Sige po, okay lang po. Salamat po sa pag-correct. At tao lang tayo, paminsan-minsan may mga ganyan. Okay? So, nasanay tayo na Vice President Robredo. Patapos na yan. Hanggang ano na lang yan Hanggang June 30 na lang. Isang buwan na lang. Mahigit. Okay? Anyway, nandun pa nga sa Amerika, nagsha-shopping yata. Puro shopping. Ang Pangulo Duterte, puro trabaho. Perma ng mga bagong batas. Maraming ginagawa ang Pangulo sa Malacanang. Yung ating pangalawang Pangulo hanggang June 30, pa-shopping sa New York. At papasyal-pasyal doon kung hindi ko alam kung ano meron doon. Umuwi ka na. Dahil may trabaho ka pa. Anyway, nabanggit lang natin yan para may idea kayo. Okay, so sana ay mula ngayong araw na ito ay magtuloy-tuloy na ang... wala na tayong audio? Ay, wala akong audio kasi ako, hindi ako naririnig. Wala daw audio. Anong walang audio? Okay. Well, naka-stop po ngayon kaya walang audio kasi ho naka-stop, 'di ba sinuspending nag-adjourn na nga po yung komite. Yung tinapos po na yung announcement, nag-close na yung dalawang komite. Yung pinamumunuan ni Senador Subire at Congressman Romualdez, yun yung nadinig kanina, parehong gumawa ng committee report, pina-approvean, na-approve na ho yung dalawang committee report na yan. So kaya nag-adjourn sila. After nyan, so ini-stop na, kaya inaayos ho yung proseso, tapos magkakaroon ng proclamation. Ayan. Mhm. Okay? Ayan. Oh, okay, maganda pala yung akala ko may tatanong, bakit nawala yung audio? Wala nga po kasi stop nga. Naka-stop din sila doon. Ayun, lahat sila naghihintay. Kasi nga 'di ba ang sinasabi kanina nung majority leader, after inutusan niya yung secretariat nila, after nung kanilang announcement na yon, kaagad-agad kunin yung mga dokumento, papirmahan. Pagkatapos na mapirmahan yan, na magkabilang panig, na na-approve na ng side ng Kongreso, side ng Senado, ayun na ho yung formal na deklarasyon gagawin para ho dito sa proclamation. So, kaunting tiis na lang, ilang minuto na lang ito, at magkakaroon na tayo ng President-elect at Vice President-elect sa katauhan ni President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., magiging President-elect ngayon, at katauhan naman ni Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio, magiging Vice President-elect. Dalawa lang naman sila kasi yung mga senador, ang Senado ho ang nag-canvass doon at nag-proclaim. Sa ilalim po ng saligang batas ay talagang ang Senado at Kongreso ang magproproklama ng Presidente at saka Vice President. At ito na nga, nangyayari na. Tapos na ho, inuulit ko dun sa mga bagong nakapanood, tapos na ho yung canvassing, talaga hong lamang ang si Marcos at lamang si Mayor Sara sa posisyong Presidente at Vice President. Kaya nga ho, tapos na rin yung committee report, for signature na lang ho para na joint committee report. After nyan, inaayos na ito, nakikita ko dito sa monitor, na inaayos na nila at uupo doon sa itaas. Kung hindi ako nakakamali, siyempre dapat nandiyan sila, Speaker Velasco, okay, at Senate President, sana mangyari yon. Minsan kasi Deputy Speaker lang pinaupo pero dapat nandiyan sila, Speaker Velasco at saka ho, Senate President, ayan na, umakit na ho. Ayan o, nakita nyo? Umakit na si Senador Tito Soto. Magsisimula na. Yan na, nandun na yung dalawa. Pareho naka-coat and tie pa yung dalawa. Ayan o, magkatabi na. Si Speaker Velasco at saka si Senator Tito Soto, Senate President. At mag-uumpisa na yan. Okay? So, seconds na lang ito, ilang minuto na lang po. At ewan ko, baka mayroon pa yatang attendance niya kung ano man. Kasi regular joint session ito. Ibig sabihin, pinagsama yung membro ng Senado at Kongreso para ho dito sa proclamation. So, opisyal na proclamation ito ng Kongreso at Senado sa ilalim ng 18th Congress dahil yan ang sinasabi ng saligang batas. At pag naiproklama na ito, tapos na. Usually, itong ganitong proclamation na wala namang naghahabol, tuloy-tuloy na yan. Wala nang problema yan. Okay? Wala nang pupunta siguro sana ng Presidential Electoral Tribunal. Yung petition wala na kasi inamin na nila na yung kailang pangarap na maging Pangulo, yung opposition, hindi nangyari at dahil nga ho, ang binigyan ng pagkakataon.
The joint public session is resumed.
Senate President.
On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint public session is resumed.
Pakinggan po ninyo. Importante po ito.
Mr. President, on the part of the Senate, I move for the consideration of the report of the Joint Committee and its accompanying resolutions of both houses. Number 1, proclaiming the candidates obtaining the highest number of votes for President and Vice President.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Consideration is in order.
Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move for the consideration of the report of the Joint Committee and its accompanying resolution of both houses. Number 1, proclaiming the candidates obtaining the highest number of votes for President and Vice President.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the report,
Volume.
the Joint Committee and the resolution of both houses. Number 1.
report of the Joint Committee for the canvassing of votes for the presidential and vice presidential candidates
Ayan,
in
maganda
the
ba
May
niya?
9, 2022 elections. Resolution of both houses number 1, entitled Resolution of both houses approving the report of the Joint Committee declaring the results of the national elections held on May 9, 2022 for the office of the President and Vice President and proclaiming the duly elected President and Vice President of the Philippines.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Distinguished colleagues in the Senate, the House
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May be recognized to sponsor the said measure.
What we have witnessed
Majority
in the
Leader
last
is recognized.
national and local elections,
Joint panel.
for me, was one of the most credible, orderly, and peaceful in our elections history. Don't just take it from me, as this is reflected in the assessments of different media outfits, election watchdogs, and civil society organizations, including the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. Just more than 2 weeks after the May 9, 2022 elections, we are about to proclaim the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic. Quite fast indeed. The result of this election is historical in several ways. First, it has the highest number of votes cast in our nation's election history, with an 82% voter turnout, totaling 55,197,306 votes. Second, Mr. President, since the 1987 Constitution, this is the first time that we elected a majority president and vice president.
Wow.
A
Grabe, sigawan.
phenomenon indeed in a multi-party system under a presidential Republican government. The duly elected president garnered a total of 58.77% of the total votes cast in the last May 9, 2022 elections. And the duly elected vice president gathered a total of 61.53% of the total votes cast. And third, the canvassing of Congress in joint public session took only 2 days to finish. And I would like to take note that this canvassing is the fastest in our nation's history of elections. Another milestone for Philippine Congress. However, we would like to emphasize, we did not sacrifice transparency and the authenticity of the results for a speedy count. The process was hastened due to several factors. Early on in the canvassing of the Joint Committee, we appreciated the manifestation of the counsels of several presidential and vice presidential candidates. Notably, the counsel for Vice President Leni Robredo, a presidential candidate who manifested that they have a continuing manifestation that they interposed no objection for the canvassing of all COCs brought before us in this body. The same manifestation was made of record by the Council of Vice Presidential candidate Senator Kiko Pangilinan and Presidential candidate Mayor Isko Moreno. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a magnificent show of statesmanship on their part, and we sincerely thank them for that. It shows the importance of uniting as a people and healing the emotional wounds brought about by this very emotionally charged election. The Joint Committee consensuously examined the certificates of canvass, both the manually transmitted and the printed copy of the electronically transmitted COCs, and painstakingly determined their authenticity and due execution, as required by law and by our rules. The canvassing went on smoothly, except for some instances when the manually prepared certificates of canvass were not found in the ballot boxes submitted to us or submitted to the Senate President by several provincial election supervisors and city election officers. Thus, under our rules, we summoned the concerned provincial election supervisors and city election officers to explain the non-inclusion of the COCs in their submission to the Senate President and asked them to locate the COCs and bring them henceforth to Congress. I have in many times in public expressed my frustration for such failure during the proceedings of the Joint Committee. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, I would like to urge the Commission on Elections to take remedial steps to ensure that these glaring mistakes would not happen again, hopefully in 2028. For the record, the Joint Committee did not want to sacrifice the accuracy and the count, nor disenfranchise any province nor LGU from this historic process. That is why we even waited for the results of the special elections of Lanao del Sur and several overseas absentee voting areas to complete the canvass of votes. Another factor which truly helped make the canvassing of votes so efficient, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, was the masterful handling of my co-chair, the Honorable House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez. I would like to say this, ladies and gentlemen. He never left his post throughout the proceedings, not even for lunch, not even for dinner, not even a bathroom break. He truly leads Congress by example, and I salute you, sir.
Trabaho talaga
I
sila.
would like to also take this opportunity to thank the hardworking members of this joint committee, my colleagues from the Senate, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Franklin M. Drilon, Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Ralph Recto, Senator Grace Poe, Senator Pia Cayetano, and our alternate members, Senator Lito Lapid, Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator Coco Pimentel, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, and our colleagues as well from the House of Representatives, Congressman Jesus Crispin Remulla, Representative Abraham Tolentino, Representative Christine Singson Mihan, Representative Sharon Garin, Representative Manuel Manix Dalipe, Representative Juliet Ferrer, and alternate members, Representative Juan Pablo Bondo, Representative Johnny Pimentel, Representative Alfredo Garbin, and Representative Stella Kimbo. With that, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, it is my distinct honor and privilege to sponsor the report of the Joint Committee of the Canvass of Votes for presidential and vice presidential candidates in this historic May 9, 2022 national and local elections. The Joint Committee, Your Honors, canvassed a total of 171 COCs from provinces, highly urbanized cities, local absentee voting, overseas absentee voting, and found all of them to be authentic and duly executed. The results, Your Honor, of the canvass shows that Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. obtained the highest number of votes for the position of president, garnering a total of 31,629,783 votes. With a lead of 16,590,010 votes over the second placer. On the other hand, Madam Inday Sara Zimmerman Duterte obtained the highest number of votes for vice president with 32,208,417 votes, with a lead of 22,879,210 votes over her closest opponent. Allow me to add, Mr. President, matagal-tagal na rin po ako sa politika at maraming eleksyon na rin po ang aking napagdaanan, both local and national elections. At ngayon lang po ako nakakita nitong dalawang kandidato kapag nagmo-motorcade ay kilo-kilometro po ang taong nag-aabang. Sa kainitan ng araw at hindi alintana ang init. May mga rallies din po kami na kasaganan ay nag-uulan at nananatili po ang tao. Yan ang masasabi natin, umulan na tumaraw man ay kasama pa rin po natin ang ating mga kababayan. May mga kaugnayan po tayo na pamilya ang nag-aabang at nagdadala pang sariling baon para sa kanilang tanghalian. Ang mga galing sa kanayunan, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, talagang nakakamangha at ngayon ko pulang nasaksihan na ganyan na pagtanggap sa ating mga kababayan sa ating dalawang kandidato. In this election, truly, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte were truly rock stars. Dalawang kandidato, kapag nagmo-motorcade ay kilo-kilometro po ang taong nag-aabang. Sa kainitan ng araw
Ayun.
at hindi alintana ang init. May mga rallies din po kami na kasaganan ay nag-uulan at nananatili po ang tao.
Naulit yung sinasabi ni
masasabi natin,
Subiri, ano ha?
umulan na tumaraw,
Ayan po, oh.
man ay kasama pa rin po
Antindi,
natin
ano ha?
ang ating
31.5 million mahigit ang kay Marcos, 32 million mahigit ang kay Lenny tuloy, kay Sara Duterte, Carpio. Hindi nabanggit yung Carpio niya kasi asayan, di ba? Sara Duterte, 32 million plus. Official po yan, ha?
Speaker, Mr. President.
So, yan talagang,
nakakamangha.
yan ho yung matindi. Okay? So, nakita po ninyo ang matindi. Mamaya, tingnan natin huli yung pagpasok ni Marcos. Tingnan natin mabuti ulit, ha? So, nakita naman ninyo, nadinig po ninyo. Nitong nangyari hong ito, talagang nakakamangha yung dami. So, yun na ho yung si Senator-elect, dahil kasi tumakbo rin yan eh. Although incumbent, Senator-elect, di ba? Juan Miguel Subiri po yung napakinggan at maganda yung kanyang committee report sa side ng Senado. Okay? At yan na nga po, diniklara na nga niyang President-elect Bongbong Marcos at Vice President-elect na si Sara Duterte Carpio. Ayan. So, talagang matindi. O, punong-puno po yung Session Hall until now. Hanggang mamaya pa yan. Punong-puno. Ayan, o.
Mabuhay ang ating demokrasya. Maraming salamat.
Ayan, o. Ayun. Ang side po ni Senate Majority Leader. Tingnan natin baka si Romualdez ba magbibigay din ng speech?
The Majority Leader of the House of
Ayan na.
Representatives.
Tingnan natin yung kay Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I be recognized to sponsor the report of the Joint Committee?
Susunod dyan yung
Chairperson of
Eto
the
na.
House Panel of the Joint Committees.
Ayan na, si Congressman Martin Romualdez. First cousin ito, pero siya yung Majority Leader eh. Ayan na, pakinggan nyo to.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished
Ayan,
colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen, the joint public session of Congress to canvass the votes for the duly elected President and Vice President in the elections of May 9, 2022, is honored and privileged to submit its report to the honorable members of the Senate and the House of Representatives in joint public session. Pursuant to the constitutional mandate of Congress and the instruction of the joint session of Congress, the Joint Committee convened on May 24, 2022 to canvass and tally the votes for the President and the Vice President. After just a day of canvassing, the task had been completed and we were set to proclaim the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. The proceedings of the 2022 joint public session has been the fastest canvassing of the presidential and vice president elections results in the country since it adopted the automated election system. Foremost, due recognition must be given to the members of the Joint Committee who worked round the clock to canvass the votes in order to proclaim the winners in the soonest possible time without sacrificing accuracy and fairness. The Senate panel headed by the Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Migs F. Zubiri, Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay, Senator Franklin M. Drilon, Senator Amy R. Marcos, Senator Grace L. Poe, Senator Ralph G. Recto, Senator Pia S. Cayetano as members, and Senator Manuel Lito M. Lapid, Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator Aquilino Coco III,
Yung mga member ng
Senator
committee po yan.
Ronaldo Bato de la Rosa as alternate members. Likewise, we also take note of the diligence of the members of the House panel. Representative Jesus Crispin C. Remulla, Representative Abraham Bambol N. Tolentino, Representative Christine Singson Mihan, Representative Sharon S. Garin, Representative Manuel Jose Manix Dalipe, Representative Juliet Marie De Leon Ferrer as
Pero
member,
pinasasalamatan po, binabanggit po yung mga member ng komite ng Senado at Kongreso. Katulad ng ginawa kanina ni Senador Mig Subiri. Magpapasalamat yun dahil sa magandang coordination at nagtrabaho ng 2 araw at maaga natapos itong canvassing. At ngayon nga po ay opisyal na ginagawa ang
credit
proclamation.
must also be given to the officers and staff of the Commission on Elections who were able to immediately respond to the directives of the Joint Committee to explain the missing physically delivered COCs. The concerned Provincial Board of Canvassers, through their provincial election supervisors, were able to explain before the Joint Committee through virtual communication the whereabouts of the COCs. The chairpersons proceeded with the canvassing of the electronically transmitted COCs and required provincial election supervisors to submit the actual original copies of the COC. We also commend the members of the Secretariat and the Joint Committee, both from the Senate and the House of Representatives, for their support and assistance, and the members of the media who were with us throughout the proceedings. We also express our gratitude and appreciation to the councils of the candidates who have manifested their graciousness of their respective candidates in recognizing the integrity of this election. Indeed, the healing of the country has begun, and we urge everyone
Dali lang po
to unite as a nation.
Ba't ang hina ng boses nito?
Finally, credit is due to the more than 55 million Filipinos out of more than 66 million registered voters who, amidst the threat of the COVID-19, braved the long queues to exercise
Diba?
their right of suffrage, resulting in a record-breaking 83.11% voter turnout. Indeed, our democracy is alive and vibrant. Ever-growing political interest shown by our electorate is symbolic of the people's clamor for change, prosperity, and progress. The Joint Committee canvassed a total of 171 COCs. 132 COCs were electronically transmitted to the consolidated canvassing system by the Board of Canvassers of the provinces, cities, and overseas absentee voting countries. 39 COCs were physically delivered to the Senate of the Philippines from the Special Board of Canvassers for overseas absentee voting, local absentee voting, and detainee voting. With all the 171 COCs tallied, Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. and Davao City Mayor Sara Zimmerman Duterte obtained the highest number of votes among the candidates for president and vice president, respectively. Senate Marcos Jr. received 31,629,783 votes, or a lead of more than 60,593,010 votes over his nearest rival, Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo. For the vice presidency, Mayor Sara Duterte received 32,208,417 votes and had a margin of over 22,879,210 votes over her closest rival, Senator Francis Nepomuceno Pangilinan. The 2022 electoral campaign period has been polarizing, with the country reeling from the impact of a global pandemic and other major calamities and disasters. It was evident that the nation was divided as to what direction to take in order to move forward. but the majority has spoken. It is high time that we listen to their voice and uphold the outcome of our democratic process. Let us heal the wounds of the political division, brace ourselves for the challenges ahead, and move forward as a strong and united Philippines. Let us be prepared to work harder for the nation and give our full support to the new leadership. At the end of the day, we are all Filipinos, and we want nothing than to see our beloved nation chart its own course and ultimately triumph. On this note, I urge the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives in this joint public session to approve the report of the Joint Committee embodying the resolution of both houses proclaiming Honorable Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. as President and Honorable Sara Zimmerman as Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas at ang buong sambayan ng Pilipino.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, out of my excitement of my speech, I forgot to make the same motion. On the part of the Senate panel, Mr. President, we respectfully recommend to Congress, as the National Board of Canvassers, in joint public session, approving the report of the Joint Committee and Resolution of both Houses, number 1, declaring the results of the national elections held on May 9, 2022 for the office of the President and Vice President, and proclaiming Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos and Inday Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. I so move, Mr. President.
Majority Leader, we would like to
Yes.
entertain a formal motion for
For
the
the vote.
adoption of the resolution.
Yes. Mr. President, we're now ready to proceed to vote for the adoption of the report and the accompanying resolution. On the part of the Senate, I move for the approval of the report of the Joint Committee and the adoption of the accompanying resolutions of both houses. Number 1.
Distinguished members of the Senate, there is a motion by the Majority Leader approve the report of the Joint Committee and to adopt the accompanying resolution of both houses, number 1.
We're now ready to proceed.
As many as are in favor of the motion,
Late na
please
yun.
say aye.
Aye.
Ayun na.
As many as are against, please say nay.
Of the accompanying resolutions.
The ayes have it. On the part of the Senate, the report of the Joint Committee is approved and the resolution of both houses of number 1 is adopted.
Ayun na.
The Majority Leader of the House of Representatives is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, we now proceed to vote for the adoption of the report and the accompanying resolution. On the part of the House of Representatives, I move for the approval of the report of the Joint Committee and the adoption of the accompanying resolution of both houses, number 1.
Distinguished members of the House of Representatives, there is a motion by the Majority Leader to approve the report of the Joint Committee and to adopt the accompanying resolution of both houses, number 1. As many as are in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye!
Lakas.
As many as are against,
Lakas eh.
please say nay. The ayes have it. On the part of the House of Representatives,
Approve. Ayun.
the report of the Joint Committee is approved and resolution of both houses, number 1, is adopted.
Ayan na. Approve na. Both Congress and Senate resolution. A report for declaring President-elect Bongbong Marcos, Vice President-elect Sara Duterte Carpio. Ayan na po yun. Okay? Ayan na. Magpapalakpakan. Ang napakaraming tao. Grabe ang tao. Nakita nga natin yung maraming tao sa loob ng session hall.
The Majority Leader of the Senate is
Ayan na.
recognized.
Papalakpakan sila.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On the part of the Senate, pursuant to the adopted resolution of both houses, number 1, I have the honor to move for the
palakpakan ng tao.
proclamation of
Ayan, oh.
the
Ayan po yung mga tao. Sigawan sila.
Duly elected.
duly elected President of the
Ayan,
Republic of the Philippines
Ayan,
and the
oh.
duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. I was just, it was in a black, it was
Yeah.
black, Mr. President. I didn't want
Daming
to
tao,
I
grabe
wanted
oh.
to make
Punong-puno
sure
yung session
that
hall.
one was not ahead of the other.
The majority leader of the Senate is
I was
recognized.
worried about that black.
I have it.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On part of the Senate, pursuant to the
Is there any
adopted
objection?
resolution of both houses, number one, I have the honor to move for the proclamation of the
Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
Ayan,
Duly
ayan.
elected. As the duly elected President of the Republic of the
Ayan na,
Philippines
okay.
and the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
and I would say Sara Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Ayan na. Proclamation na po. Ayan na.
The Majority Leader of the House of
No, nakatayo po si
Mr. Speaker,
First Lady
on part of the House of
Attorney
Representatives
Lisa
and pursuant to the adopted
Marcos.
resolution of both houses, number one, I have the honor to move for the proclamation
Ayan oh.
of Ferdinand
Nagpapalakpakan ho dahil proclamation na ho. Dineclare na po President-elect Marcos, President-elect Vice President Sara Duterte. Ayan oh. Naiyak si Lisa, ang First Lady. Ang magkatabi si Imelda Marcos at ang kanyang manugang, asawa ni Bongbong Marcos, Attorney Lisa Araneta Marcos.
Resolution of both houses, number one, I have the honor to move for the proclamation of Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines and Sara Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
We shall now proceed for the
Is there any objection?
journal of the joint public session. For this purpose,
As a part of the House of Representatives, I proclaim
Thank you very much, Mr.
Ferdinand
President. On part of the
Bongbong
Senate, I move that the
Marcos
Honorable
Jr.
Senate President be
as the
authorized
duly elected
to approve the
President
Journal of
of
the
the
Joint
Republic
Public Session
of the Philippines
and that such
and
approval
Sara
should be
Zimmerman
considered as the
Duterte
action of the
Garcia
Senate of the
as the
Philippines.
elected Vice President
Any objection?
of the Republic of the
There is none. The motion
Philippines.
is approved.
Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move that the Honorable Speaker be authorized to
We shall now
approve
proceed
the
to
Journal of
the
the Joint
approval
Public
of
Session
the journal
and
of the
such
joint
approval
public
be
session, and for this
considered as the
purpose,
action of the House of
the
Representatives.
Senate Majority Leader is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On the part of the Senate, I move that the Honorable Senate President be authorized to approve the Journal of the Joint Public Session and that such approval shall be considered as the action of the Senate of the Philippines.
All the ballot boxes. Any objection? As well as all. Chair hears none. The motion is approved. Containing the certificates
The Majority
of
Leader is
canvass
recognized.
and
Mr. Speaker,
Yeah,
the
wala na.
part of the House of
the
Representatives,
Tapos na yan.
that the
election.
Honorable
So
Speaker
directed.
be authorized to approve the Journal of
President,
the Joint
Ayan na.
On the part of the Senate,
and such approval
I move that
be
we
considered as the action
designate the members
Medyo
of the
maingay
Senate
lang, pero
panel
ayan na ho ang
of the
nangyayari.
Joint Committee as members of the Notification Committee.
If there is no objection, the chair appoints the members or designates the members of the Senate panel of the Joint Committee as designated members of the Notification Committee.
Ayan
Mr.
ho.
Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move to designate the members of the House panel of the Joint Committee as members of the Notification Committee.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The members of the House panel of the Joint Committee are designated as members of the Notification Committee.
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead, Majority Leader.
on the part of the Senate, I move to suspend the joint public session to notify the duly elected President and Vice President of the proclamation and invite them to the rostrum.
Ayun, okay.
Is there no objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved on the part of the Senate. The joint public session is suspended.
Okay.
Mr.
So,
Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move to suspend the joint public session to notify the duly elected President and Vice President of their proclamation and invite them to the rostrum.
Is
ayun.
there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint public session is suspended.
Ayan. So ayan, nag-recess. Abangan niyo, maya-maya po yung iimbitahan na. Yung sinasabi ko kanina. Nandun po sa holding area, PLLO office. Sa likod lang po ng session hall yan. Malapit, lalakadin lang yan. Yan ho yung holding office ng presidente kapag ka nagsosona. Doon ho pansamantalang nandoon sina Bongbong Marcos, President-elect na ho ang tawag natin, President-elect Bongbong Marcos, Vice President-elect na si Sara Duterte Carpio. At yun na nga po, may kinatawan mula sa Kongreso, Congressman, kinatawan mula sa Senado, sila po yung pupunta doon sa holding area para iparating kay Bongbong Marcos, President-elect, at Sara Duterte, Vice President-elect, na na-proclaim na sila at iimbitahan sila doon sa loob ng session hall. Yan ang ating abangan. Abangan po ninyo at yan ho ay, tingnan natin, meron na ba? Mula ho doon sa holding area, susunduin sila para magpunta doon sa session hall. At doon ho, itataas ang kamay yan sigurado at matinding palakpakan yan, matinding kamayan yan. Maniwala po kayo. So ayan ho, masayang-masaya, punong-puno, parang walang COVID. Di biro lang. Punong-puno ho talaga ang session hall at ngayon na nakapokus ang mga tao, mga kapatid natin sa media, pati yung mga nagbibideo, papunta roon, andun na halos sa kwarto kasi halos magkadikit lang yan eh. Paglabas mo ng session hall, kung sa likod ka dadaan sa bandang gilid, ay paglabas mo, ilang hakbang lang, ilang metro lang, yun na yung holding area. PLLO office, kabisado ko yan. Ilang taon ba naman akong nandiyan sa Kongreso noon eh. At alam natin ang area niya. So, tapos na po. Ibig sabihin, naproklama na, pero kailangan in public, haharap yung dalawa. Yun nga ang dahilan, kahit na si Mayor Sara, Vice President Sara, ay nasa area ng Mindanao or Visayas, ay bumalik. Nagpunta ng ano tawag dito, ng Manila, parang naka-chopper pa. Siguro pagdating ng airport, o saan nang galing, sa aeroplano siya, tapos nag-chopper kung saan galing. O maaaring naka-chopper yan, galing Visayas, lumipad patungo ng Mega Manila. At nandito naman si President Bongbong Marcos na, ayan punong-puno yung, habang naghihintay yung mga tao doon sa session hall, ayan nag-aabang pa rin yung mga tao, nandun pa rin po yung mga tao. Siyempre, yung inutusan lang ng side ng Congress at side ng Senate, ang, tingnan natin, abang natin mamaya, pagka lumabas na sila, kasi nandun pa ho sa loob, ay makikita naman natin yan. Ayan ayan, pinapakita ay, ayan live sa batasan. Okay? Ayan thank you dun sa, ayan at ang gandang tignan, kita mo ayan po yan. Yan, nandun po yan sa may mismong session hall pa yan habang naghihintay sila sa pagbabalik ng mga senador at congressman na inutusang iparating kay President-elect Marcos, Vice President-elect Sara Duterte Carpio, yung inaprobang resolution o report na nagdi-declare na sila yung nanalo, sila yung President-elect at Vice President-elect. At pag na-receive yan, na ipakita yan sa dalawa, ay iniimbitahan naman silang magpunta ng session hall para makita ng publiko. Hindi lang ng publiko, kung hindi ng mga taong nandoon. Okay? Ayan naghihintay yung dalawa. Yan po yung Senate President at saka House Speaker. Naghihintay sila sa pagbabalik ng kanilang inatasan na magparating kay Marcos at Sara. Ang naproklama na sila nang nanalo, tapos nga sila ay, hindi ko alam kung magsasalita yung dalawa, kaya ang ating aabangan eh. Pero natural, magpapasalamat yan. At dudumugin yan ng mga tao doon, lahat ng congressman at senador at mga bisita, kamag-anak, nandun inuulit ko, nandun si dating unang ginang Imelda Marcos, yung mother niya, nandun din po si Attorney Lisa Araneta Marcos, ang asawa ni Bongbong Marcos, President Marcos, na magiging First Lady. Kanina parang naiyak pa siya. Siguro sa tuwa yun. Kakaiba talaga. So makasaysayan ito pagkatapos ng ilan ba? 36 years? O ilang dekada ba? Nawala sa kapangyarihan ng mga Marcos ay ngayon ay nabalik sa magitan po ng Junior Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. ang siya hong President-elect. Tawagin na natin ngayon, mula ngayon. Although kahapon ko man binabanggit yan. Ayan President-elect. Nakita nyo? Ayan naka-face mask pa. Nandun pa rin siya sa, palabas na. Galing na siya dun sa, iba lumalabas na, nandun pa rin siya dun sa holding area, dun sa PLLO office. Ayan nakabarong ho yan. Yung nakabarong nakatalikod, yan po si Marcos. I'm sorry. President Marcos. President Marcos po yung, nagpapapicture, may mga selfie. Yan nakatalikod, nakabarong na yan. Nagpapaselfie siya. Yan na po yung ating bagong Pangulo pagdating uupo sa June 30. President-elect Bongbong Marcos Jr. Ayan, okay? Ayan nagbabalikan na isa-isa yung mga naatasan, inutusan na iparating yung inaproban ng public session na ito ng Kongreso at Senado ang pagdideklarang sila yung President-elect at Vice President-elect. Okay? So, magre-report sila ulit. Yan nga ba maging... inuna pala si Sara. Ayan, sorry. Si Vice President. Inuna si Vice President. Baka nagpalit na ng damit. Kasi kanina nakapang simple lang galing sa travel. Naiwan si... Gano'n naman talaga eh. Mauna yung Vice President. So, nandun na po sa session hall si Vice President Sara Duterte at naiwan sa holding area, hindi pala pinagsabay. Si President-elect Marcos, ayan, nandun pa rin sa holding area. Si Marcos, ayan po, nakatagilid. Okay? Kausap yung, hindi ko kalala itong makausap. Mga congressman ito. Mga congressman, tama. Mga congressman at yung kausap. Okay? So, ayan po ang sitwasyon ngayon. Okay? At nandun na po sa session hall si Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio. Okay? So inuna lang muna yung Vice President. Maya-maya magkakasunod na yan. President naman po ang susunod. So sandali lang ito, okay, maiinip. Kahit medyo mapahaba tayo, noong oras pa tayo nag-umpisa, 5:30 ba? Anyway, okay lang ho kasi live po ito. Mike Abi Opinions, Mike Abi Opinions dito ho sa ating channel. At yan na. Okay? Sinundo ni Majority Leader Romualdez, Majority Leader Subire, ang President-elect. Ayan. Nasa gitna siya. Ayan na ho. Naglalakad na sila. Lumabas ng holding area. Yung PLLO office. PLLO office. At papunta na siya dyan po sa session hall. Ayan, sa harap ng inyong monitor, sa bandang kanan ay si Majority Leader Romualdez, sa kaliwa, sa gitna, si Bongbong Marcos, President Marcos, at sa kanang bahagi, habang nilalakad, ay sa kaliwa nga ito, ay si, anong tawag ito, Senate Majority Leader Subire. Ayun, pinauna yung security. Sino ba ito? Yun pala yung sa protocols, itong naka-face mask na ito, hindi ko kilala ang pangalan. Ayan, ini-escort. Hindi gaano malayo yan, malapit lang yan. Pero iba yata ang dinaanan, doon yata dumaan sa kabila na hindi nag-shortcut. Kasi doon po sa gilid ng session hall, mayroong isang pinto doon, lusutan yon ng daanan yun ng mga, ayan, napapalakpakan na. Kasi nakita na nila. Ayan, papasok, nandun na ho. Ayun, ayan, doon pumasok mismo sa entrance. Iba yung dinaanan, sa entrance mismo dumaan. Main lobby, doon sa papasok. Ayan, naglalakad na ho nasa session hall na, si President-elect Bongbong Marcos. Ayan na po, ayan na, kinakamay na yung mga kongresista. Okay, nasa session hall lang po siya, ang ating bagong Pangulo, President Marcos. Ayun, ayan. Ayan. BBM. BBM daw. Talagang ganon. Tingnan natin po yan. At expected natin, natigil ang bahagya dahil kinakamayan, binabati. Yan, lahat ng mga dinadaanan, kaliwat kanan po ang mga kamay. Dahil ganon talaga President-elect yan Ayan ang sarap ng feeling ng mga Marcos sigurado nito. Dahil at saka tayong lahat ng mga Pilipino, kalimutan na natin ang politika, tapos na ho. Meron na hong bagong Pangulo at pangalawang Pangulo na magsisimula sila sa June 30. Ayan kumakaway-kaway ho si President Marcos. Ayan punong-pulo talaga, ayan Okay, nakikita nyo? Ayan katabi. Nakipag-beso-beso pa sa Press Lady, siyempre. Kay Attorney Lisa Araneta Marcos. Ayun, magkatabi si Emelda at saka si Lisa. At sa kanang bahagi, nandun po si Vice President Sara Duterte at nasa... Ayan Ayan, nag-resume na po. Natin dito, sandali okay, sandali lang po. Nag-resume na. Dito. At para may pakita natin yung nag-resume na po.
Duly elected President.
Ayan
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. or duly elected Vice President. Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. Congratulations. You have been placed by God in this position for a reason. May He lead you into your purpose and may you live it courageously. In every step you take, may God protect you. I pray for God's blessings for your leadership, for you and your family. Congratulations.
I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate our President-elect, Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. Maligayang pagbati po, President BBM. To our Vice President-elect, Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio, congratulations, Ma'am Inday. Congratulations also, and thank you to the Joint Canvassing Committee, led by House Majority Leader Ferdinand Martin Romualdez and Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri, for the swift and fair canvassing that guaranteed people's faith in our electoral process. Thank you to all the honorable members of the Joint Canvassing Committee and the Secretariat for your hard work and invaluable support in ensuring a historic canvassing that was finished in 2 days. Ngayong araw na ito, Congress bears witness to the unity of our country. A true partnership between the North and the South that has become the unity of all corners of the country. In previous elections, Filipinos voted for president and vice president from different parties. Finally, this year, we will learn the importance of voting for a tandem, a uni team that can work together, a uni team that can collaborate with each other, and a uni team that can push for a shared national agenda. The people have spoken decisively. This is not just your sweeping electoral victory. This is an overwhelming victory for all Filipinos. This is a victory of our democracy. The gracious acts extended by the camps of other candidates yesterday, which greatly facilitated our proceedings, show the best of what Filipinos can be, even in the most divisive of elections. Nakikita po natin ngayon ang tunay na lakas sa pagkakaisa at pagsasanib puwersa. We need a catalyst, and there's no better example than the unifying force that we have seen and we will see in a government led by President BBM and VP Inday Sara. The Philippines looks forward to your leadership. It is my great honor and privilege to congratulate you both today. Mabuhay po kayo.
Ayun. So, ano na,
Secretary General.
malinaw.
Ladies and gentlemen of the 18th Congress, Honorable Sara Zimmerman Duterte, the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
May we request the duly elected Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio to proceed to the rostrum.
Ayun na, akit siya
May
doon.
we also request the family of the duly elected Vice President, Inday Sara Duterte, to accompany her to the rostrum, please.
Ayun. Umakit na po siya. At doon itataas yung kamay at babatiin ng personal, parang gano'n, ng House Speaker at ng Senate President. Walang kasamang kamag-anak si Sara. No? Hindi kasama yung mga kapatid, hindi kasama ang... Hindi ko rin nakikita yung asawa, nandiyan kasama yung asawa, parang wala eh. Ayan o. Wala, simple lang. Sino yung kasama? Stop ba yun o ano? Hindi kasama yung asawa eh. Siya lang o. Ayan o. Siya lang, ayan. Wala, hindi kasamang kapatid, walang kasamang anak, hindi kasama si Pangulong Duterte na ama, di ba? Ayan na ho. Ayun. Ibinigay na yung, ayan na yung declaration. Ayan na yung declaration na siya ay elected Vice President. Nakabarong si Vice President Sara. Ayan na, tinaas ng kamay. Yan na yun. Elected Vice President Sara Carpio, Duterte Carpio. Ayan, oh. Pero walang nasaan yung mga kamag-anak, walang dumating kasi talagang mga busy yata yung kapatid. Mayor kasi yung kapatid sa Davao at saka congressman. O simple lang talaga itong mga ito, ano? Ayan, oh. Ayan. Okay? Ayan. Ayan, oh. Yan po yung declaration na hawak-hawak nila na dyan, yung pagkakadeklara ng Senado at Kongreso ng Republika ng Pilipinas, 18 Congress, na siya yung elected Vice President. Ayan. Okay? So, bababa na ulit siya. At eto na ang susunod. Ito yung abangan natin lahat. Although parehong importante yan. Bumaba na ho si Vice President-elect, Vice President Sara. Ano ba tatawagan dito? Vice President Sara? Mas kilalang Vice sa Sara lang, yan, ha? Ito namang isa ay BBM kung tawagin, pero President BBM. Ayan, yun yung susunod. Tingnan natin, sandali, ha? Okay, at nakikiramdam lang. Inaabangan natin. Okay. So, inaayos ko yung mga pinapalakpakan sa gallery or doon sa loob. Yung ating pangalawang Pangulo, elected, history, parehong landslide. Okay, parehong, isipin mo, 32 mahigit. Mas marami pa ang boto ni Sara. Mahigit 32 million. Okay, President Marcos ay 31.5 na mahigit naman. Ayun, kinakamayan ng maraming mga kongresista, mga senador, mga kakilala, kaibigan, si Vice President Sara sa loob po ng Session Hall na nangyayari ngayon. Masaya ang buong Sara team, Sara followers, Sara supporters, Vice President. Ayan, nag-face mask ulit. Dahil nga sa, alam mo na, yun ang ito meron kahit anong nangyayari, meron kasing COVID pa kaya ganyan. Ayan, okay. So, ayun na, Vice President-elect na nga po si Inday Sara. Ayun, mas kilala. Eto nang inaabangan natin ay ang President-elect Marcos naman.
The Senate Secretary.
Ayan na. Ayan, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the 18th Congress, Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines.
May we request the duly elected President, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. to proceed to the rostrum.
May we also request the family of the duly elected President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. to accompany him to the rostrum.
Nandun yung mga anak niya, yung tatlong anak na lalaki, si Sandro, nakita ko kanina, si Vincent, saka si Simon. Tapos nandun yung kanyang First Lady, Attorney Lisa Araneta Marcos. Nandun din si dating First Lady, Imelda Marcos, ang kanyang ina. Ayan, nakompleto yung pamilya. Sandali, At tinatawag niya yung pamilya niya para kasabay niyang aakyat. Ayun, kasama yung katabi yung asawa. First Lady. Tawag yan, magiging First Lady na. Ayan, naglalakad na po yung mag-asawa. Parang yung iba yatang member ng pamilya hindi na sinama. O yung anak nasa likod, sino ba yun? Si Simon. Simon nga ba yun? Tama, si Simon yun. Hindi ko alam, kanina parang tatlong kakapad nakita ko eh. Anyway, sige. Ayan, tingnan natin kung ilan ang aakyat. Lapit na. Si President Marcos po ay naglalakad na, hawak sa kamay ang kanyang asawa, ang First Lady, na si Attorney Lisa Araneta Marcos. Ayan. Para ibigay ho yung deklarasyon ng Kongreso at Senado sa 18 Congress na siya ang President-elect. Ayan na. Ayan na po. Nandun na po. Kinakamayan ni Senate President at saka ni House Speaker Velasco. Isa lang. Wala pala yung ibang anak. Bakit isa lang yung umakyat? Sino ba yun? Si Simon lang ito. Si Simon yung anak na isa. At saka ho si Senator Amy Marcos kasama. Hindi nakakit yung mother kasi naka-wheelchair yung di ba? Nagwi-wheelchair na si Mrs. Imelda Marcos. Hindi yata nakakyat. Hindi yata na isama doon sa taas. Anyway, baka inaabangan. Naglalakad. Aakyat din si dating unang ginang Marcos. Anak meron pala kahit naka-wheelchair siya. Pagka pwede palang makapaglakad pa, yun inaakay po eh. Ayan Si Imelda Marcos po, ang mother ng President-elect. Ayan, no? Ayun. Ayan na, oh. Nandun na rin sa taas. Nandun pa rin si Irene pala yun, yung isang babae, ayun, kasi naka-face mask, di ko makilala eh. Nandun yung tatlong magkakapatid. President Marcos, Senador Jaime Marcos, siyempre, at si Irene Marcos Araneta. Kasi Araneta din po ang asawa nun si Irene. Tatlo naman kapatid yan eh. At saka si First Lady, dalawang First Lady na ito. Imelda Marcos, yung kanyang ina, at yung kanyang asawa na si Lisa Araneta Marcos. Ayan. Ayan, kompleto ang description. Nandun rin si Romualdez kasi membro ng pamilya yan eh. Press cousin ni Marcos si Martin Romualdez, kaya kasama rin siya doon sa taas. Ayan na, kompleto. Jaime, Irene, si Imelda, si Atty. Lisa, Romualdez, Congressman, kompleto. Ayan o, tinataas na yung kamay. Ayun, tapos na. Ayan na, pinali. Di ba tama? Atty. Lisa Marcos. Kaya kinukumpleto ko lang Araneta kasi Araneta yung apelyido ng ano niya, di ba? Araneta yan dati, Araneta bago naging Marcos. Tama naman ako. Atty. Lisa Araneta Marcos yan. Okay? Yan si First Lady ngayon. Ayun. Ayun, naakap ni President Bongbong Marcos ang kanyang ina, ang kanyang kapatid, ang kanyang anak kinakamayan, ang kanyang kapatid na si Irene. Hinalikan pa siya ni Irene. Kinakamayan ni nakipagkamay pa kay Congressman Romualdez kasi mag-first cousin yan eh, majority leader. Ayan o. Ayun. Okay? So, ayan na. Bababa na ulit sila. Kompleto na. Wala yung ibang anak. Kanina kala ko yung dalawang kasama ni bakit hindi umakyat eh. Pero parang napansin ko na doon yung ibang anak eh. Hindi na yata sumama din sa taas. Pero anyway, halos kompleto yung pamilya ni Marcos. At maswerte itong si dating unang ginang Marcos, malakas pa. At nakita niyo kanyang anak ay presidente na, junior pa. Kung hindi ako kakamali, yun ang pangarap niya nung araw eh. Na basta makabalik sa kapangyarihan ng kanyang anak, ayan na nga, or nagkaroon nga ng mataas na posisyon, President-elect. Ayan na ho. Nagkamaya na si Senate President Soto at saka House Speaker Velasco dahil tapos na yan. Ano susunod? Wala na, hintay makababa, tapos makikipagkamayan. Ay, na matindi. Yung gagawing kamay-kamay na yan.
Majority Leader.
Dali.
Yes, Mr. President. Out of all the excitement, we forgot that we have to adjourn. Therefore, Mr. President,
Nakalimutan.
on the part of the Senate, I move that we adjourn this historic joint public session.
Ayan na.
On the part of the Senate, this joint public session is hereby adjourned.
Majority Leader of the House of Representatives.
Ayan.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House, I move to join the joint session.
On the part of the House of Representatives, this historic joint public session is adjourned.
Tapos na. Tapos na. Wala na. Okay. So, ayan, no? Tapos na ho. Ayan na. Okay. So, kahit pa paano, ay naipagkaloob ko po sa inyo ang mga nangyari. Ayan na ho. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin nakikipagkamay si President Marcos at saka Vice President Sara sa lahat ng mga membro ng Kongreso at Senado na nandun sa Session Hall. Ayan. Siguro, pwede na rin muna natin tapusin dahil alam kong yung iba ay nagtatrabaho, naisturbo ko kayo. Pasensya na po, ha? Pasensya na po at naisturbo ko yung ating mga kababayan na alam ko nasa trabaho, especially ang mga kababayan natin sa abroad, at yung iba nandito sa Pilipinas. Pero mahalaga po, aking obligasyon yan bilang broadcast journalist at vlogger na iparating ko sa inyo ang nangyari. So live na live po yung ating ginawa dito sa Mike Abby Opinions. From mula ho sa nag-umpisa ng ma-approve yung resolution o yung committee report, yung canvassing, tapos gumawa ng committee report ng Congress, committee report ng Senado, joint, pinagsama yan, tapos hanggang sa pagdating ni President Marcos at Vice President Sara, na-cover natin. So ayan po, kompleto. Palagay ko mga Marcos supporters, Marcos loyalists, Marcos followers, at tayong lahat ng mga Pilipino. Dapat maging proud tayo dahil maganda yung labanan sa eleksyon, wala naman naging physical masyado, halos wala. Tapos mabilis yung canvassing, 2 araw lang natapos na, may proclamation. So ang hihintay natin, inauguration. Ang susunod po ay inauguration. Paglilipat na ho ng kapangyarihan mula sa outgoing President Pangulong Duterte at incoming incoming government under the President Marcos sa June 30. Ayan, no? Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Nakakatuwa. Uy, Alex Sanchez, salamat ha. Thank you, Alex Sanchez. Nakakatuwa bilang Pilipino dahil naging maayos. Walang naging problema sa canvassing, walang naging malaking problema sa eleksyon. Ngayon ay tapos na. So masaya na. Ating ipagmalaki sa buong mundo na nakapagtayo tayo ng bagong Pangulo at bagong Pangalawang Pangulo sa isang pangkalahatan, generally peaceful na political exercise ng ating bansa sa ilalim ng 1987 Constitution. Ayun. Okay? So pansamantala siguro, ito na nga po yung proclamation ni President Bongbong Marcos Jr. at Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio. Mabuhay ang lahat ng mga Pilipino. Okay? So gabi na. Napagod ko kayo. Mahigit na kanina, umabot ng halos 2,000 yung ating nanonood. At marami rin hong nag-like. Salamat po sa inyo. At ito ay aking obligasyong iparating sa inyo. Salamat din po sa inyong pagpapasalamat sa aking ginawa. At sana po ay i-share nyo itong mga bidyong ito sa inyong mga kaibigan sa buong mundo. Hindi lang ho dito sa mga Pilipino sa Pilipinas para makarating at makita nila yung aktual na canvassing at saka po proclamation. Meron na tayo ay bagong Pangulo. Wala nang mangyayari doon sa mga petition at mga kung ano-ano pang mga usapin. Tapos na yan kasi nga ho, naproklama na. Okay? Tingnan natin kung ano pa ang mga susunod. Marami pong salamat. Sana po ay kayo aking nabigyan ng masariwa, bagong-bago, live na mga bagong balita dito sa ating bansa. At good night, dahil gabi na po. O kung ano man, good morning, good afternoon sa lahat ng ating mga followers sa buong mundo. Huwag kayo makalimot, mag-subscribe, mag-follow sa Mike Abby Opinions. Click ang notification bell, paki-share and like para ho nakakatulungan tayo. Marami pong salamat. God bless!